Today, public forums. The Christchurch 360 Trail. Judith Miller and Gillian Harris presenting on behalf of the Christchurch 360 Trail. Please come forward. Thank you very much. Just to remind you, you've got 5 minutes.
Phil and City Councillors. Firstly, congratulations on your election. You've put your hand up for a hard job. So well done you. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I'm pleased to be here today at the first council meeting. Over the past few weeks, I have written to all of you with the specific purpose of raising the awareness of the Christchurch 360 Trail. Thank you to those of you who have taken the time to respond. My purpose today is simple: to urge you to make a decision. This is the question: is the Christchurch 360 Trail going to go through the estuary or not? That's the question. We've been fighting this battle since the trail was launched 7 years ago, and we're tired of it, as I suspect many of you are too. A decision was imminent in 2019, but it was halted because more consultation with mana whenua was required. This occurred. The Ihutai Ahu Whenua Trust duly endorsed the project with mitigations based on the science of the Boffin-Miskell report, which the council commissioned. The Ihutai Trust rejects the proposal of public consultation, as do we, because much misinformation about harm to birdlife has been circulated, contaminating what ought to be a level playing field. Originally, the Sustainability and Community Resilience Committee was to make the decision. Let that process continue. You are a new council, a combination of new and fresh voices who are elected to make decisions. That's what we want you to do. But before you do, Christchurch 360 would like to invite you to a walk-through of the area so that you can see for yourself what it is you're being asked to decide on. We want the 140-kilometre trail around the city to showcase the best that we have to offer, which is why this particular section is so important. We know there are many factors to consider: budgetary, route design, dog control, and now possibly 3 waters affecting ownership. But I hope you will agree that the time for procrastination is over. This council, this new council, has an opportunity to do it once and do it well. Trust in the science of the Boffin-Miskell report, apply your collective wisdom, and as somebody not too far from here said, let's get stuff done. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. That was very enlightening. We do questions?
Yes.
Yeah? You've got a bit of time there. Has anyone got any questions that would like to put forward?
Nope.
Don't all speak at once. No,
They shall shout.
Sorry, yes, Pauline.
Could I just clarify that the issue was whether the trail goes around the estuary?
No.
Or
There's been a bit of misconception because the route was labelled estuary edge, but it's not edge. You can see I've put only one picture up there. That's a part where the trail would go through. So it's to be fully screened from the estuary. There'll be no contact between the trail. There'll be bush, and then there will be the estuary.
so not right on the edge.
No, it is not on the edge. That's a misconception, I think, because of the name of it. It was.
And then the other alternative route was down, is it Dyer's Road?
Well, there were 4 options put up altogether, none of which were particularly satisfactory. This is the one that is the jewel in the crown. I mean, like I said.
So you're telling us that iwi and the Ihutai Trust are both supportive of this option?
Yes, they have reported that information back to the council, right. And they, as I say, they reject the notion of public consultation, which was what was on the books, and they, like us, want the council to make a decision.
So are we able to pick this up? And yes,
Because I was under the impression that the Estuary Trust was not.
yeah, me too. Yeah. They're not.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
All right, we've got 1 second.
That's it.
No.
Finished.
Yep, time is up. I'm sorry, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
That's
you.
Very, very good.
And now we have deputations.
Okay, the next thing we're moving on is deputations. Nathaniel is presenting on item 5, the committee structure.
No.
That's what it's called.
There are 3 of us actually part of
Living
the
wage.
delegation, if that's okay.
Oh, right, my apologies. Yep.
Is it right?
That's what it says.
Cool.
It should be living wage, though, shouldn't it?
Is it not living wage?
Kia ora everyone, lovely to see you all here. So I'm Nathaniel Hertz-Ettinger, I'm the community organiser for the Living Wage Movement. Before we get into the core part of our deputation, I just want to speak to a little bit of who we are as a movement. So we represent a coalition of a wide range of faith organisations, unions and community groups. And we have a pretty wide selection of them here today. So if you look into the crowd behind us here, we have representatives from Keep Our Assets Canterbury. Here we go. Anglican Care. NZEI. The Durham Street Methodist Church. Anglican, I already said Anglican Care, I've got that twice. Knox Presbyterian Church. Sustainable Ototahi Christchurch. The Make It 16 campaign. And Anglican Advocacy. Great. So as you can see, we represent a really wide range of organisations all across New Zealand and all across Christchurch that all care really deeply about this issue. We're a diverse coalition and we have members in all the wards in the city. And so what we're here to talk about is basically working poverty in the city and what Christchurch City Council can do to address that. So just quickly, the living wage is simply the hourly rate that a worker needs to be paid so that they're able to participate in society and live a decent life. It's the wage that a family of 2 adults and 2 children would need if they're working a total of 60 hours per week, if they want to raise their kids in a healthy way, in a warm house with healthy food and access to clothing, healthcare, education. It's not luxury, it's just living a basic but decent life. And that's all we're asking for today from the council, is to make sure that your workers, the people who do public services, can do that. So yeah, now with that, I'd like to pass on to, is it Joyce first?
Yeah, kia ora koutou. My name's Joyce Yeager. I'm the chair of Sustainable Otautahi Christchurch, or SAC. SAC is very interested in helping facilitate long-term sustainability in Otautahi Christchurch in all areas, including social, economic, and environmental. And as part of that, it's really important to us to advocate for a living wage for everyone. So that's why we're here. We're really grateful for the commitments that were made at the Living Wage Forum by some of you, Jake McClellan, Yanni Johansson, Melanie Coker, Celeste Donovan, and Phil Major. Thanks very much. You all committed to giving CCHL a 2023 deadline for living wage accreditation and amending Christchurch City Council's policy to ensure that all CCHL directors understand the importance of a living wage for all workers. Mayor Major, thanks for your commitment. Today, the council will be confirming your appointment, Sam McDonald as chair and Melanie Coker as deputy chair of the Finance and Performance Committee, which handles CCHL business. We hope you've conveyed to them that the importance of the living wage and the commitment to the living wage movement. To all members of the Finance and Performance Committee, we must ensure that CCHL is given a clear deadline for living wage accreditation. Along with the 35 city care workers still on less than the living wage, there may be hundreds of contracted workers on poverty wages at CCHL, and you can change that. And now I'll hand it over to Gabby.
Thank you. Kia ora, everyone. I'm Gabrielle. I work for Anglican Advocacy, and just to keep it short and sweet, paying people enough to raise a family with dignity is a no-brainer, and it's simple. Kia ora.
Yeah, in conclusion, I just want to say, please, councillors, get in touch if you have questions or concerns. We're always happy to meet and go through these issues and address your concerns. And we think that all councillors here and the mayor shares the vision for Christchurch that we have, which is as a place where all workers can thrive and where they can raise their families well and they can be part of the community. So we see our role is to help you all realise that vision, and we're going to be here for the next 3 years, supporting you and also holding you to account. So kia ora. And I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. Is there, Tim?
Yeah, hey, Anthony. Hey, just wondering, and it's not political parties, I'm just wondering with the ministries in Wellington, how have you got on with them? Because they're the ones that advise government and policy, etc., and in some degree you could argue they set it. But have you, your organisation, and have you had dialogue with in which ministries, and are they on board or?
Yeah, so the New Zealand government at a national level has committed to paying all of its workers and all of its contracted workers a living wage.
That would also include those like for us, we're identifying CCHL, so we've got the families of the 5 big ones, and then we've got Eco Central and others that spin off that, and all the contractors, etc. So that's the same for those ministries?
I think when it comes to, I guess the equivalent at a national level would be like state-owned enterprises and companies like Air New Zealand, which have where the government owns a lot of shares. We're not quite there yet.
Clean is that Clean Parliament. So
the
just wondering if they've got the same principles, and I'm not aware of that hasn't been vocalised at all.
So at the last general election, we got that commitment. So all cleaners, all security guards on government property are paid a living wage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, Yanni, far away.
Yeah, thank you for your deputation. I'm not sure if you've looked at the terms of reference, but we can't delegate the remuneration and employment policy to either finance and performance or the CEO subcommittee, but we can as a council develop a policy. Do you think we should be explicit about a process around adopting a very clear policy around remuneration and employment policy that recognises our commitment to the living wage?
Do you mean for council-controlled organisations?
It's across the council family.
Oh, right. Okay. So, I mean, what we're focusing on today is Christchurch City Holdings Limited. I think a general policy would be good. You know, if the council as a whole simply enacted a policy that said all council-controlled organisations must be living wage accredited, that would be fantastic. The thing that's really coming up as a deadline is that letter of expectation to Christchurch City Holdings Limited. And this is where you as a council set your expectations to CCHL about what you want them to do in the next year. And that's something that you'll be drafting a letter of expectation for and going through their statement of intent probably later this year. And so that's for us the urgent thing that we're pushing for now, is just make sure that in the letter of expectation that goes out to CCHL and in the statement of intent that they return to you as a council, a really clear deadline is included for living wage accreditation, because the council the CCHL has started this process years ago, back in 2017. They've made progress, but they're not all the way there, and we think it's time that we can move on to a bit of accountability with a clear deadline.
Thank you. Aaron, on screen you've got a question.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. And so I'll roll 2 questions into one. Your position on like a youth wage, and also staff starting out, like if someone's been long-term unemployed, should they start straight onto the living wage, or should there be a trial wage so though people are encouraged to employ some of those people and get them working rather than the costs that might be associated and put them off? Do you have a position on that and the youth wage? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the issue of youth workers, so we have a clear exception in cases where young people are working as interns or are receiving qualifications and training. In those cases where there's a really clear formal structure for it, those employees can be paid less than the living wage while the organisation's still accredited. When it comes to that second issue around long-time unemployed workers being paid less than the living wage, from a council point of view, I don't think that's a necessary incentive. I think you have a social purpose as an organisation, and I think you can afford it. Just to give an example, Phillipstown Community Hub in Phillipstown, organisation that does a huge amount of community work on a shoestring budget, reliant on grant funding, and they employ people who are coming out of long-term unemployment, who are coming out of prison sentences or from drug rehabilitation centres. They employ them as gardeners and caretakers on their land, and they employ them at the living wage. And they see that as actually being an essential way of making sure those workers feel part of society and feel valued for the work that they do. So we think council can do that.
Did you want to?
My question was for Dawn, actually. Have we built the living wage into our procurement policies? Just remind me. I think we did, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Thank you.
But it's quite a narrow weighting. I think it's only maybe 4% of your sort of overall weighting. It's not a criteria, right? Is that correct?
It is.
Oh, it's a certain criteria. So all okay, interesting. Yeah, that's great to hear.
That uses up time. That's absolutely fantastic. Once again, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, item 4, presentations